Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our daily devotion. Today, I want to speak on something that challenges all of us at some point in life, which is forgiveness. How many of us have struggled to forgive someone who hurt us deeply? I know I have. Forgiveness feels unnatural, but especially when the pain runs deep and the wounds are still fresh. Our human nature tells us to protect ourselves, to hold on to the hurt as a form of control or power. We convince ourselves that if we forgive, we're letting the other person off the hook or minimizing what they did. But what if forgiveness isn't just for them? It's for us too. Our default setting is not forgiveness, it's self-preservation. We prioritize our needs and our emotions. We cling to grudges because they give us a false sense of power. It feels safer to keep people at a distance than to open our hearts again. So think about it. How many of us have ever said, I'll forgive, but I'll never forget? Those words are often a shield we use to guard ourselves against future hurt. But the truth is, when we hold on to unforgiveness, we're not guarding ourselves, we're imprisoning ourselves. Unforgiveness keeps us stuck. It keeps us replaying the hurt over and over again, as if reliving it will somehow bring justice. But what does God call us to do instead? Let's read Matthew chapter 18, 21 to 35. Peter comes to Jesus and asks, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? In Peter's mind, 7 seems generous. He was likely expecting Jesus to commend him for his willingness to forgive so much. But Jesus responds, not 7 times, but 77 times. In other words, there's no limit to unforgiveness. Then Jesus tells a story to show his point. There's a servant who owes his master a large debt, so large he could never repay it in his lifetime. The master takes pity on him and forgives the debt entirely. Imagine the relief this servant must have felt, but then this same servant goes out and finds someone who owes him a much smaller amount. Instead of showing mercy, he demands repayment and throws the man into prison when he can't pay. When the master finds out, he's furious. He says, I forgave you all the debt because you begged me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant just as I had for you? And the servant is thrown into prison, tormented by his own forgiveness. So this story isn't just about the servant, it's about us. How often do we act like the unforgiving servant? We come to God asking for mercy and he freely gives it. But when someone wrongs us, we struggle to extend that same mercy. Maybe it's a friend who betrayed your trust, a partner, a family member who said hurtful things, a coworker who made your life difficult. We hold grudges, replay the offense, and let bitterness take root in our hearts. But here's the thing, the more we forget how much we've been forgiven, the harder it becomes to forgive others. And I often think about that when I replay all these bitterness in my mind, and I'm like, no, I don't want to forgive this person. But then I think of myself like, wait, I am a sinner. I've done many wrong things, but God is so graceful and merciful that he's forgiven me multiple times. So why can't I do the same? So there was a time when I carried deep bitterness towards someone who had hurt me, not just partner, but like family members. And I kept telling myself I was over it, but the truth was I wasn't. I'd say I've forgiven them, but in my heart, I was still holding on to the pain. I would think about what they did and feel the anger rise all over again, but I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And one day I brought it to God in prayer. He reminded me of the mercy he had shown me time and time again. He asked me, if I can forgive you for everything, why are you holding on to this? It was humbling, and honestly, it wasn't easy. Forgiveness didn't happen overnight, but as I surrendered that hurt to God, he began to heal my heart, and in that healing, I found freedom. The freedom to let go of the anger, the freedom to move forward, the freedom to live in his grace. Forgiveness isn't about pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about trusting God to handle the justice. In Romans 12:19, it says, do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, it's mine to avenge, I will repay, says the Lord. When we forgive, we're not letting the other person off the hook, we're giving the situation to God. And in doing so, we release ourselves from the prison of bitterness and resentment. And I'm sure you heard of that saying, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer, but forgiveness is the antidote. It sets us free. I want to challenge you this week. Take a moment to think about someone you've been struggling to forgive. Maybe it's someone from years ago, from childhood, or maybe it's someone you see every day. Bring the hurt to God in prayer. Ask him to help you let go and extend the mercy you've been given. It won't be easy, but remember, forgiveness isn't about excusing the hurt. It's about freeing yourself from its hold. And as you forgive, you'll experience the peace and freedom that only God can provide. Let's be the people who reflect God's grace. Let's remember the immeasurable mercy He has shown us and let it flow into our relationships. When we forgive, we're not just walking in obedience, we're stepping into the freedom God has for us. Thank you for being here with me today. Forgiveness is tough, I know, but it's worth it. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need encouragement. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode here on Faith and Tea. Until next time, keep leaning into God's grace and remember, forgiveness isn't just for them, it's for you too. Love you.